If you've been scrolling through endless product pages, watching video after video, and still feel stuck wondering whether a document folder is really worth the space and money, you're not alone. Most of us have sat at a desk with a stack of forms, invoices, or flyers, trying to decide if we should keep hand-folding or finally invest in a machine. The risk of buying something that sounds great on paper but ends up gathering dust is real, especially when you're paying a few $1,000s for a piece of office equipment. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. What I'm about to walk through is the Formax FD38 a fully automatic touchscreen document folder that promises to handle up to 17,000 sheets per hour, feed up to 500 sheets at a time, and run a dozen different fold patterns without you having to be a machine operator. I've spent the last week watching a few factories, a medical records office, and a small print shop try out the same class of equipment, and I've talked to a handful of buyers who finally decided to make the leap. The goal here is to cut through the hype and see whether the FD38 actually solves the everyday pain points that bring us to the market in the first place. First off, the biggest selling point for any automatic folder is speed. The FD38 17,000 sheet per hour rating translates to roughly 283 sheets a minute, which sounds impressive until you map it onto a real job. In a medium-sized office that prints 5,000 invoices a day, you could theoretically finish a batch in under 20 minutes. That's a huge time saver if you're processing payroll or insurance claims on a tight deadline. On the flip side, if your daily volume is only a few hundred sheets, the machine's speed becomes more of a brag than a benefit. You'll still pay the same electricity and maintenance costs, but you won't be leveraging its full capacity. The touchscreen control panel is where anyone can walk up and start folding in seconds. Promise is really tested. I watched a new employee, with no prior training, place a stack of 300 sheets into the hopper, select the fold preset, and watch the machine go. The interface is clean, the icons are large, and the system walks you through a quick calibration step that takes less than a minute. In practice, this means you don't need a dedicated operator to sit at the machine all day. A quick handoff is enough. The only caveat is that the screen is a bit glossy, so in a brightly lit room you'll need to angle it just right to avoid glare, otherwise you might mistap a setting. Feeding reliability is another area where the FD38 tries to stand out. Its 3-roller drop-in feed system is designed to handle different paper weights without jamming. In my observation, the machine handled 20 pounds bond paper, 24 pounds glossy stock, and even lightweight 60 GSM flyers without any noticeable hiccups. The real test, however, came when we tossed a few imperfect sheets, slightly curled edges from a printer that had been left open overnight. The rollers managed to straighten most of them, but a couple of heavily curled sheets did cause a brief pause. That's not a deal breaker, but it does suggest you'll want to keep a quick visual check before loading large batches. One of the quieter, often overlooked benefits is the enclosed fold plates. The FD38 plates are insulated, which reduces the typical whirring and clanking you hear from older folder models. In an open-plan office, the noise level stayed well below the threshold that would distract coworkers, making it suitable for shared spaces. If you're planning to put the machine in a small, enclosed room, the insulation still helps, though you'll still notice a low hum when it's running at full speed. Now, let's talk about flexibility. The machine is pre-programmed for a dozen standard folds: C, V, Z, gate, fold out, and double parallel, among others, and you can also set custom counts for batch processing. This is a real advantage if you need to produce sets of forms that are pre-sorted for different departments. For example, a medical office could program the machine to take a stack of 250 patient intake forms, fold them into a fold, pause for a 5-second delay, then stack the next 250 as a separate batch. The built-in delay feature means you can sync the folder with downstream equipment, like a stapler or a mailer, without manual intervention. However, the flexibility does come with a learning curve for the more obscure folds. While the standard C&S folds are straightforward, the gate fold and double parallel require you to adjust the conveyor length and sometimes fine-tune the paper path. If you're only ever using 1 or 2 fold types, you might find the extra programming steps unnecessary, and a simpler, less expensive folder could suffice. Who should seriously consider the FD38? If you run a high-volume operation where paperwork moves in the hundreds or thousands each day, Think payroll processing centers, insurance claim departments, large-scale mailing services, or a print shop that produces catalogs. The speed.